Hello, everybody. I'm back. This is episode 7 of my How to Draw series. So, episode 7, today we're going to be drawing the male abdominal muscles, or the abdominal region, I should say. Here, what I'm doing is I'm just laying in the front view. I'm using that same the same wedge shape that I showed you in one of the first videos to lay in the abdominal area with the rib cage. It's a good idea to also indicate. You can use the wedge shape to indicate the shape of the rib cage. It's like almost like an egg shape, but it curves around. And so I'm just drawing some guidelines here to get me started, and you can pause and do the same thing. So now that I've got my guidelines kind of established for drawing the abs, we're going to do our best here to indicate or lay in some ab sections, I should say. I don't know, muscles, or we're not really drawing anatomy, but I'm just trying to show you what the abdominal section looks like. It's like the midsection, basically. And again, you can copy what I'm drawing, follow along. And I'm just thinking of what to say here. So again, anytime I'm writing notes, I'm basically writing what I'm thinking. And so I'm rounding out these wedge shapes actually to make it look more like an actual rib cage. Okay, so my note says the abdominal area is made up of 3 sections of muscle. Another good point here, the ab muscles are not square. I see a lot of people, even me, I'm guilty of doing this. I tend to draw them more squarish when they're really not. They can have all sorts of different shapes. If you look at photos of people's abs, every person has different shaped abs. They can be oddly shaped. They can be one side can be higher than the other side. They can be almost perfectly aligned with each other. So abs are all different, and the muscles actually look different, but they're not squares. So I'm actually guilty of drawing squares myself. I struggle with that. I struggle to get away from doing that. I think it's an automatic go-to for some reason. I don't know. Oh, I'm writing another note here. You can use the wedge shape to help you draw the rib cage. And I'm saying I'm gonna draw a rib cage here, and this is more or less the proper form to draw if you're gonna place the ab section correctly, the midsection. So I'm just using the circle method. Sorry about all the hair. I should have my hat on to avoid showing all my hair in the camera. I don't know why. The camera's in front of me, and it seems like my head's not in the way, but apparently it is. So I'm going to have to maybe wear a hat every single time I film. So my note basically said that drawing the rib cage like I did on the right side there, that's really the more accurate way to do it. The whole point of me getting you into drawing these wedge shapes is because it's an easier shape to start with. it's not quite as advanced as drawing a circular shape. Um, the wedge shape is a little easier. It only really works though for straighter on shots, and then if you do a 3/4 shot of a wedge shape, you have to then convert it into like a 3D form, so that gets more complicated. But anyway, back to the abs. So I drew the rib cage in a more accurate depiction to show you what it's really supposed to look like. Oh, I wrote right there where it says start here. Basically, I drew that section of abdominal wall, and it basically comes down where the rib cage kind of folds, curves in. The abs come down off of that section of ribs. They're attached to the ribs, so you got to know where they attach, and I'm still learning all my anatomy, but and then those are like the serratus muscles that section of triangular section I drew there. That's like the serratus muscle section, but here we're just doing abs. So if you lay in the abdominal section in the right place, it'll look correct. And then obviously the belly button is in the center of that ab section, and here I'm doing some more. Like I said, you can copy these, pause the video and follow along. Now, I will admit, I have a hard time drawing abs because you really, to make them look good, you have to shade them correctly or use correct line weight to indicate lighting. I struggle with abs. I do. I struggle with abs. But if you're just going for a little bit of a flatter look, and just trying to study, it's a good way to do it. But I still struggle with shading them correctly, adding light and shadow. And my problem with abs is I don't like shading them because I always shade them too much and they look way too round and they look fake. I want them to look real. So I struggle with that. That's something I'm still learning. But see how I brought the ab section down off that corner of the rib there? The corner of the rib cage? And the abs are like in 1, 2. There's really like 6. There's like 6 to 8 abdominal muscles. The longest muscle being the 2 muscles below the belly button. Those actually attach down into your groin. So they go way down. They go way down below. They're actually quite long. I have to say, I think abs look better when they're not rounded. Like, some people are really good at rounding them out. I don't really like that look. I like them when they're a little bit flatter. I'm gonna have to practice how to shade them so that they don't look fake. My note there says don't draw the abs straight. What I mean is the horizontal lines crossing that's creating the ab sections, they're not straight lines because your stomach curves around, or the abs curve around the stomach, so they're going to have curve to them. That's one of the tips like that I had to spend so many years learning is you look at your art and you're like, why does it look wrong? And you don't realize is because there's all these little details that you have to be aware of to make it look accurate. And that's a detail that I had to learn on my own is, the torso is a round shape. It's not straight. It's not flat. So you know, your ab muscles, the sections. When you're drawing the sections, you have to round those horizontal lines that you're drawing to make it look more accurate. So like I said, there's just little tiny things about drawing that really affect your art, and I've learned these over the years. I mean, what I'm saying is they affect your art in a negative way, and you look at it and you're like, I don't know why it looks bad. And then you realize sometimes it might be because, you know, your line work is not following the contour of the body. Now, like I said, I could draw these lines straight, but they're technically curved because, well, I should say curving them sells the idea that the abdominal wall is not a flat shape. And this video series isn't really about the musculature, but I added abs in here because for me they're very hard to draw. They're very hard to get looking correct. So I wanted to add them in because I think it's important to get them to look right. So what we'll do is we're going to add, when we get to the lesson on finally building a figure, which isn't going to be for a little bit yet, I wanted to add a lesson on how to draw the abs so that you can draw abs on your figure and have them look halfway decent. Again, this is for male abs. We're going to do female abs next. So see here how I'm varying my lines? What I'm doing here, I'm doing this to show you that abs can be in all different shapes and different configurations, and everybody has something that looks different. Nobody has abs that look the same. So right here, I'm just drawing the three sections of muscle. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm trying to flatten them out and create this shape to show you in a little bit more 3D what they actually look like. They're like rectangular squares, kind of, and I mean they're round, but they're not circles, is what I'm saying. So I'm drawing these three-dimensional shapes to try to show you. So I draw some more of them here. So when you're doing this, if you want to follow along, make sure you put in your guidelines first. The one I'm working on now, I end up not liking this. I don't like the way it came out. It looks terrible. So, like I said, I struggle with getting these to look good. I mean, I know how to draw them, but getting them to look good, it's kind of a different story sometimes. Oh, here what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit of separation between each. Make them look a little bit more real. Here I'm just writing the abs curve around the stomach, and that's why you should really follow the curve of the body. Now, what I'm drawing here is another example of that 3D shape. Abs don't really look like this, but I'm drawing them in a more simplified 3D form to show you basically how they're set up. So again, this is just a representation of what the abs are. It's not really what they look like. These almost look like keyboard keys, but they're not. They don't look like that in real life. So here what I'm doing is I'm shortening the right side because I'm trying to do a 3/4 view, and I realized I drew the other side too long, so I just shortened it. Also known as foreshortening. It's basically you're shortening whatever you're drawing. So now it looks like it's pointing away from us. Like those squares that I drew, that could be like part of body armor or something. I think it would look cool for body armor. But that's not what the ab really looks like. Oh yeah, I'm writing here. This isn't actually what they look like. It's just an example. I'm just drawing some more examples here. I think what I'm trying to do is get the abdominal core to bend around. Oh, because the stomach is curved. Again, I've said this a bunch of times already. Make sure your lines are curved with it. It'll sell it. It'll sell that it's curving more when your lines are curved. Remember, drawing is an illusion. It's not real. It's not real. It's an illusion of reality. So, as the artist, you're basically creating the illusion that something exists on a 2D space. That's why there's so many tricks to getting something to look right when you're drawing, because drawing is an illusion. You have to basically change reality for a drawing to look right. Oh, I'm writing here. Abs can be really hard to get looking good, which is true. Oh, I'm writing here. They have so many different shapes they can make. It's hard to get them to look good. So on this page, I drew multiple different looks that you can draw for abs, and they all look like abs. They just all look different. So it all depends on what look you're trying to go for. So I think what I'm doing here is I'm drawing a more complete example. I can't remember. talking about the wedge shape again. Oh yeah, it's also useful for other things. The wedge shape, you can really use it for multiple things. You don't have to just use it for getting a torso in. I think I end up doing a more complete example of a torso or a rib cage here, or ab muscles. I'm saying remember to curve your lines. To be honest with you, I like the more flat look with abs. Here I'm drawing in where the hips would go. They're like, it's like the hip flexors. They go along that section. Those are where the hips kind of come in. I gotta say, I kind of like the look of abs when there's no detail on them. When you start trying to make them all interesting and curvy and everything, that can really ruin it, in my opinion. But just takes practice, I guess. It takes more practice. So this is a more complete ab drawing. I think I end up trying to shade some of this. So I wrote 1, 2, 3, the 3 different sections of abs. So here I'm just trying to do some shading. I'm kind of trying to make this up out of my head. Based on where maybe the light would be coming from, and every time I draw abs, they end up looking terrible because I'm just really bad at shading them. I'm not very good at it. That's definitely a weakness of mine. That's why I added this video, because we got to draw our weaknesses too, not just what we're good at. Oh, and then here, I'm just trying to draw some lines of beauty. It's good practice. But that'll pretty much do it for episode 7, the male abs. Hope you got something out of this lesson. Hope you practice how to draw your male abs, and I'll see you in episode 8. Talk to you soon.